Hey, Matt here. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. As most of you know, if you've followed my content for a while, I used to rat hole and reset my stacks at 130 big blinds. But since I've been playing more reg tables and also from looking at some data, there's a direct correlation with the deeper you play, the higher your win rate. So I decided to not do that anymore. Now, with that being said, I'm still quite lost in a lot of spots in game. Fortunately, GTO Wizard has 150 big blinds and 200 big blind sim, so I don't have to rerun all my scripts. So in this video, I think what I'll do is I'll go over small blind versus big blind, and maybe if we have time, some small blind versus MP at 200 big blinds, and see how the strategy changes and if my intuition is on the right track. Now, before I start practicing, I'll quickly show you some of the settings that I use. So for this video, I think we'll use the general sims. We'll leave all that as default. We want to make sure learning mode is on. So that way it shows us the strategy after we act, not before we act. You could use a time bank, which is interesting. That limits our, like basically we have to act in a certain amount of time. And I like showing results after action. And yeah, that's basically how I use it. So again, we'll do small blind versus button through a pot. And we will go from there. I'm actually wondering if I should use simple just so there's less sizes. We'll leave it as is for now, and we'll see if it's too many. All right, so first hand. So generally, I know 100 big blinds deep, we want to use a bigger size or check on a board like this. But now we're playing 200 big blinds deep. So do those heuristics still work? And if we want to bet big, what is the big size now? So generally 3E or a bigger size, 100 big blinds is roughly like 55% pot, but do we go bigger now? Honestly, I have no idea, but I'm going to assume that's bigger, and because we're deep, maybe we'll bet a little bigger, so I'm going to say 75 is going to be what I would do. And I don't think I will ever check this, so click this. So as you can see, we are wrong. So it's actually mostly small bets. We could dive in to see why that actually is. Let's actually take off focus mode. You actually can pop this out and have this in a new tab, but since I'm recording on one screen, we'll just leave it as is. So yeah, there's mostly small bets. So let's just take a note of that. That's interesting. I don't really know what else to say to that other than let's just watch maybe these low boards. Maybe there's just going to be more small betting than big betting. Yeah, we'll see. So, yeah, if I really wanted to dive deeper, you can hit this button, and then that way you can hit the breakdown, the ranges. You can kind of see, but I don't really have any ideas of how I would use that right now. So let's go back here. Okay. Do we want to change it? Yeah, let's change it. Let's just go here. That way we can see a turn and playing the correct action. Now again, we have an interesting situation. I would assume, again, that we would be betting bigger, but again, what is bigger, especially when we're 200 big blinds deep? And because we're using the general sims, where it has a bunch of sizings. Well, rolling a 6, I guess there's some percent chance that we'll be checking this. So we'll use rolling the 6 as a check. But if I was to bet, I'm just trying to think what size would my range mostly want to go. Like what does like kings, queens, jacks, 10s, 9s, 7s, all those want to go. I honestly have no idea. I have no idea. I would assume big, but I could be wrong. But let's check on the 6 and then let's see what happens. So yeah, it's mostly medium. I guess that makes sense. What's interesting though is it's not going like a 2E, like a really big to set up a shove on the river. I don't know if that's something that's going to be unique to this board. I guess we'll see. But yeah, that is interesting. And the check is good. Actually, what I should have done. Well, yeah, that's mostly range. I could see what happens there, and I think here we're just pure checking. I think in positions could have way more sixes, flushes. I don't really think we're getting much value, so I think we're just pure checking this. Yeah, pretty much. Most likely calling a bet. So yeah, the first hand that was definitely an interesting one. Okay, normally I would just bet range on a board like this, maybe even bet bigger because it's one Broadway, two middle, or too low. But now we're 200 big blinds deep. I'm going to rolling 84. I'm going to bet. The high numbers are bet for me. Some people do low numbers, but I do a high number. And I'm going to guess we're just going to use a 1/3, and we'll see if I'm right or not. So you can use a bunch of different sizes again here if you want to see the strategy, but mostly bet small is going to be fine. So normally when the flush comes in, it's going to be bet small or check. So in this situation, 86, I'm going to be bet small. And I guess we'll just use 33, although I wonder if we could size up a little bit more, but I'm just going to stick with 33. Looks like that is generally good. And we get raised. The question is, do we want to just call or shove? I think in general, we just call. But again, we are deeper, so I have no idea. I think this is just a good hand down in our calling range, though. And rolling the 14, which is lower. Maybe if I rolled high, I could pull the shove, but we'll just call. It's mostly call. Not really, oops. Not really many raises, so. And check. It's interesting there's some donks there. Now we're in a really tough spot. In game, I think this is just a pure fold. The question is, what other hands? See, this is where the time beg thing would come in handy, right? If I only give myself 15 seconds to act, I have to really make a decision. But we're learning, so we want to give ourselves some time. I think you probably. Question is like this a better call than like Queen X, or if we somehow had like 8x or 7x or something? Maybe we can just call flushes, full houses, and yeah, maybe some of those like full house blocker hands versus this. Even though we rolled 85, maybe this is just a pure fold. So I'm gonna guess it's a pure fold because he bet pot on the river and we have other hands we can call first before this, especially since we're not raising much. So yeah, I think I'm gonna fold this. Looks like it was a mix, but there's some calls. And so what's interesting is, like for example, 8-7, it actually would rather fold and call this. And see, what would be nice is if we could see out of position strategy. That's a feature that I've requested that they do. But we can go here and we can see what are the hands that they're shoving on the river. I guess it's like a lower frequency of full houses and it's more flushes. Like so when we break this down, I think by hands we go. So this is in position. See, it's way more flushes than full houses. So I guess the reason why it prefers to call like an ace-8 versus, or sorry, an aces with the spade versus like a 7-8 is because the flushes are just way more of their range, which is something that I didn't consider. Yeah, now I actually think I might have screwed this up here. Okay, so we folded. This might take us to the river. Okay, no, it didn't. Okay, cool. So again, if we're playing 100 big blinds deep, I usually bet medium or, well, mostly bet medium, if not for my whole range. Now the question is, because we're 200 big blinds deep, does that change? Well, let's assume from the ace or the 5-5, whatever, let's just bet small and see what happens. So it looks like bet small. So I don't know if this is a pattern yet because I've only simmed a couple hands here or practiced a couple hands, but it seems like there's not as much big betting as I would have imagined. Get raised, which is interesting. I think just pure call. Some re-raising, but mostly call. That's the best turn in the deck, I would guess. And check. Question is size here. I feel like their hand is mostly, if I had to guess at the raising range, again, we don't get to see villain's range, unlike, say, for example, in Lucid. When it checks on the queen, I'm going to assume that the hands that they're raising is going to be mostly like 10s through 3s or something. So if that's their range, I feel like just going small is better. Or check raise. But if we go small, if they check back a jack on the flop, they're probably going to raise, then we could re-raise. And if they have, yeah. Yeah, I think just betting small is better versus like betting huge because we have good hands. So, and yeah, there it is. And I am curious. Let's see if I clicked it fast enough. Oh, looks like I didn't. There's a. Oops. There's just a way to like go back. I think there might be, but whatever. Again, I think we just bet small. Even smaller on this ace-x board. I guess it's fine. That's for like the simple and the general. But either way, it doesn't really matter. I think just betting small is the main thing. And now we have an interesting situation on the turn. So the question is, how much is our ace king worth? 100 big blinds is worth a stack. It's worth a stack of 200. We are a wider formation. I would assume yes. Well, we saw a couple hands ago that it still was 75, and it wasn't like a 2E direction all in type size. So let's just bet 75 and see what happens. So it looks like, yeah, something in that medium-ish range is going to be good. And the question is on the river, is our hand worth a shove? See, that's the thing. Now we have 1.5x pot. Well, 1.6. I think so, honestly. Small blind versus button. Even though we're 200 big blinds deep, let's go with it. See what happens. Looks like. See, that's the tough part, right? It goes like. I mean, it's not bad if I shoved, but it prefers the medium. Although, in practice, you can argue that these EVs don't really mean anything. It's still interesting to know. Yeah, I feel like these hands, when I'm playing deep, are really tough because it's hard to know what they're worth. But yeah, interesting spot. Again, I would bet big or check, generally speaking, 100 big blinds. Do we still just bet small on a board like this? Well, the last couple hands said that we should, so let's do it. And again, yeah, still bet small and check. So maybe that's a pattern. It's something to note. We rolled 53, right? So I decided to bet. Again, flush, generally bet small. 33, do we ever have any checks? Maybe. Think it's 50-50? Sure, roll low, we'll check. Oh, it's mostly check, nice. Now do we check raise or check call? Oh, 69, maybe we'll raise. And if we raise, I don't know what this size will end up being. Okay, yeah, smaller raise, it's fine. And then I guess now just shove. See, I wonder if it if it ever slow plays. Yeah, I was gonna say that because like this is not really a good river for us. It's tough to see how we would play. It's not blown up like this, but we can kind of see that shoving. Probably, if I had to guess, these are the good flush draws, and these lower medium ones look like they're checking. Yeah, we just call. Got the bluff, nice. Yeah, I'm guessing just bet small on the 9, but well, on the 9, could we ever check this then? Usually these low ace X are bet most of the time anyways, even if they have bad back doors and stuff. But we're now 200 big blinds deep, so everything I just said goes out the window, right? Let's check just because we roll low. Looks like it's never checked. And all these lists, look, it never checks. So forget what I'm saying. It's tough to say. I mean, yeah, if I was 100 big blinds deep, I would just range betting this. But now I'm 200 big blinds deep, and I'm like, what do I do? It's a tough spot. All right, let's do one more in this formation because I see we're about 16 minutes in, so we'll spend another half small blind versus MP, and we'll see if anything changes. And now we are here. So it goes check, check. I feel like it's pure check. It looks like we are bluffing this sometimes. This is actually a leak of mine, to be honest. It's like the check, check nodes because they don't happen too often. I never know how much I can bluff. And again, here we're just looks like it's like bluffing a variety of things. You don't just have to have the flush draw. And just wow, it's actually call sometimes. Interesting. All right, I'm gonna pause the video and I'm gonna load up small blind versus MPEP. Okay, we are back, and I actually switched it to the simple sims instead of the general ones, just for less sizes. Obviously, it's not going to be as accurate, but I think it'll be better for this video. Because I'm not really caring if it's going to be, what specific small size or what specific medium size. I just kind of care, are we betting small, medium, or large? So, yeah. Okay, so I think here we're just going to bet 33, most of our range. And it looks like there's actually significant checking, which I guess makes sense. Like in practice, you would too. So, yeah. I guess when I said bet, I'm going to bet this hand lots. Flush coming, probably check a ton. And this hand's just going to check even in rolling the 89. Looks like we can bet, which is interesting. Even the ace kings without probably not being aggressive enough when the flush comes. And the question now is, what size is our hand worth? I would have to guess. If it was like small blind versus button, I'd probably bet medium. But I think versus MP, let's just bet small. So it still could be worth medium. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Next hand. Again, I think. So, see, what's interesting is if we were 100, this actually may be bet medium, but 200 we'll just bet small. Mostly bet small, as you saw in the little picture there. I think, so the question is, I don't think our hand has enough equity to bet again for a bigger size, but for smaller size it might. 89 leads me to bet, so let's just bet small. Yeah, cool, so it's bet and check. Small size. And now I think our hand's worth more of a medium-sized bet, so rolled 24, which is low. I'm wondering if we ever check. Check would induce some bluffs, but I don't know if it's enough to warrant that to go for the check raise, so we probably just want to bet ourselves, and let's just bet something like this. Yeah, makes sense. Nice. Queen. So again, I would I would bet big or check on a word like this. 29, maybe we'll check. And I wonder if it's going to be bet small and check again. This will be interesting to see. So yeah, again, it's mostly bet small. So it seems like there's a pattern here of just like betting small, not too many big C bets. And we'll see what raise 61. So I guess we'll raise, and I'm guessing. See, normally it'd be a small size, but we're 200 big blinds deep. Do we want to raise a little bit bigger now? Looks like it doesn't really matter. The flush is probably really bad, so we're probably pure checking. Yep. Most of our range was checking there too. And wonder if this could be a 10% size if we wanted to have it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, cool. I was kind of hoping we would get raised, and then I would have to think, what do I want to do now? Probably pure fold. Same situation. That would be a big better check, but based on what we just saw, I guess it's bet small. Yeah. Again, mostly bet small. Flush comes in, so we're going to bet small. I'm guessing this hand wants to continue to bet, so yeah. And now we have a sizing decision here. Obviously, we have the uber nuts, so we could just shove. That's probably not going to be a bad thing. I'm just wondering if that's the high CV. Can we bet small again? What hands are going to raise? Like a flush should raise. So that's the thing, like, it seems like our value from flushes, whether we shove or bet small, is probably going to be the same. So the question is, do we get value from like like kings, queens, jacks, maybe some 10x, maybe even the sets and stuff? Is it higher to be just a bet like, a medium size? I feel like if we shove, they fold. But then if we block, are they supposed to raise? I don't know. It's tough to say. We're only an 80. All right, let's go with the high action. Let's just shove. So it's tough to say. So it looks like these like overpairs, they're still strong to bet medium. So probably just fits the flushes in with the medium because, actually that's interesting. I was just thinking like A7 not having the king, queen, jack, like unblocking those flushes, would it be better to shove? But it looks like not really, or not that much. So shoving's just not really a thing much with my range, so yeah. Okay. Interesting spot, that one. So I guess betting. Actually, let's just quickly look at one thing. Let's look at the ranges. So like the ranges are mostly these pairs and 10x. And well, let's do this. Let's go to here. If we shove, are those mostly folding? I'm going to assume yes. Yeah, they're mostly folding. And that's kind of a problem, where if we bet like 86, they're calling. So obviously, if we look at the EVs, it's usually really close. Like there's not really much of a difference. You could argue, well, in practice, maybe people just hero those over pairs with the spade. So clearly, shoving is gonna do really well. But yeah, it's really tough because as I was saying in that hand, if we block, see these hands are supposed to raise, right? And I was thinking that I'm like, are those supposed to raise? I'm pretty sure I said that, and that would be awesome if they do. So. Yeah, interesting spot. It's really thinking about, okay, how do I get the most money in with my value, and then go from there. All right, we'll do a couple more. See, this one, again, I would bet bigger check, but based on what we've seen, I think we're just going to bet small, rolling 100. And yeah. Flush, I think, pure check, especially with the hearts bad. Yep. Just fold. That's a quick one. I'm going to check on the 28. This board's probably not going to be c-bet as much as you'd think, so if we want to have a reasonable checking range, then I think this hand fits into that. Yep. Obviously, you can bet sometimes, right? Pure check. Oh. Is this a bluff then, I guess? That's really interesting. Given the king jacks. I don't know if anyone in the comments below wants to explain that one. And now is this worth a value bet? It's versus MP, not button. I'm gonna say no. Okay. Probably call though, bet, yeah. Wow. I acted pretty fast there. I mean, I wish I could actually go back and just take an extra second there. I'm surprised that the Jack X wasn't strong enough to just call. I guess MP could have. If we just look at the ranges really quick from here, or you can pop this out and just look at the ranges real quick. Oh no, because we're in learning mode. I was gonna say, I guess they're probably value betting things that are better than a jack, so we just have a pure bluff catcher, and we probably call our aces. Yeah, I wish I can go back to that one. Maybe if somebody knows that there's a way. I thought there used to be history right here. I was looking for this. I thought it was on this side for some reason. Oh, okay. Where is that hand? Yeah, so it's most serious. Okay, can I like go back to this hand or something? Usually there's a way to right click and go study. Actually, I might ask for that feature. That's an interesting one. But anyway, what I was going to say is that I forget what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought. So yeah, let's go here. 53 will just bet. Let's actually check more than I thought. Fold. Okay. Couple more. Again, I would have normally bet this big, but based on everything that we've seen so far, it's probably just bet small. And it is. $75 will bet, and I guess bet small. This is interesting. This is like the first hand where it actually bets bigger. Now let's see if it's just that hand and not the range. It's tough to say. It's kind of a mix. So what's the difference between that one and say like this one? Maybe because it's a rainbow versus suited. Maybe that's something we can think about. But yeah, that's interesting. I think so. If we're 100 big blinds, I'm basically betting small with almost my entire range. I feel like this is fine to do it again. I mean, we blocked some of the best aces, have a gut shot, really can't go wrong. So let's do this, and it looks like that's fine. And we remember the nuts. So the question is, how do we get the most value? Hey, so unfortunately my mic actually died while I was recording the video. So I finished the whole video and I realized there was no audio for the last 5 minutes. So just to show you the results of this hand, I think I was saying that betting big or betting small would be best, but I think I was preferring the betting small just because I didn't think many of my value hands actually wanted to bet big. And I wasn't even sure if we were betting ace king, but it seems like we were. We had king queen of clubs. But then what I was saying is end game. So if we block jacks, tens, and even like some of these ace X are supposed to be raising, which is where a lot of this EV of the block actually comes. So I was actually wondering if in practice we're probably better off just betting a bigger size, to be completely honest. In retrospect, that's probably how I would play it, but it's just interesting to see why Solver is doing what it's doing. So yeah, to sum up the video, I think small C betting can't be that bad. Maybe we can actually size up on rainbow boards. That's something we just noticed, but we'd have to play through a bunch of hands before we can actually draw that conclusion. But it's something to keep note of. And yeah, let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this format. I personally enjoy working with trainers. I think if somebody has 1 to 2 hours to study, I think the best way is just to practice in trainer versus reviewing hands. You can kind of do both at the same time while you're in the trainer, and it doesn't cost you any money for your mistakes. And for me personally, it just helps build my intuition way faster than anything else. And there's so many tools that you could do it with. I use obviously GTO Wizard in this video because they have 200 and 150 big blinds already, but there's many different ones you can use. Like if you have your own sims, maybe Lucid, you could use that. Um, but yeah, moral story, use a trainer. I think it's good. Another thing I'll mention is if you notice any heuristics that I missed, or if you believe that any of the reasons why Solver was doing something that you think I'm wrong, I would appreciate if you let me know in the comments below or let me know your thoughts. And yeah, I guess that's it. That's all. As always, until next time, good luck at the tables. Bye for now.